What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're all doing well today. Today, I'm really excited to bring you a new knife review, but it's not necessarily a new knife that I've reviewed, but it is a different version of a new knife that I've already reviewed, and that is going to be the Civivi Chevalier. This one here, though, is the black wash coated 14C 28N variant that has the micarta scales instead of the wood scales. So this one is a slightly different version, but I was very curious because I've seen other reviewers that actually got both the wood handle version, which is the one that I picked up first, and picked up the micarta version, and they were saying that they felt quite a bit of difference between the two. So I'm not going to run through the specs. If you're interested in the full review of the Civivi Chevalier, this is the link. Check that out. You can watch the full review and come back to this video where I will talk about some of the differences. So not going to really talk about the size. The one thing that I always am interested in is what is the weight difference between the wood variant, did I miss the power button, and the micarta variant. So we're going to weigh the wood first because that's the one that I had already. I think it was 3.2 ounces for the wood variant. I would imagine, because it feels a little bit lighter, but who knows? Let's find out, that the micarta is going to end up a little bit lighter than 3.2. They are identical, so there is no weight difference at all, which is impressive because I would have just assumed the wood would have been a little bit heavier, but it could be the placebo effect and why I thought that. Now let's talk about a couple of other differences. The first thing I'm going to talk about first and foremost is going to be the action. So the action on the wood version feels just a tiny bit smoother than it does on the black washed blade, and I imagine that has something to do with the coating not being broken in, riding on the ceramic bearings. It probably is just not quite as smooth, but it is a very minimal difference. The next thing I want to talk about is the way that the lock feels. The lock feels a little bit better on the wood version than it does the coated version. The coated version feels like it has a slightly lighter detent, but I've checked, I looked at the lock. The lock itself does not have any type of coating on it, and neither does the blade itself. Let's see if I can get some light in here. Maybe not. I am not really sure that I'm going to be able to get an angle. There you go. So I did check and there is none. So I'm not sure if it just happens to be that the spring feels a little bit lighter on the Chevalier that has the micarta versus the Chevalier that does not. But it does feel like it has just a little bit better push button detent, I guess. I don't know what else to call it because it's not a detent ball, so I'm going to call it push button detent. It feels just like it's a little bit stronger, and I'm talking marginal. This feels a little soft, like you could almost fail it if you really tried hard, whereas I think with this one, yeah, because I have to push through the lock a little bit hard. It has just a little bit more strength than the lock. And let me check something real quick because I found on that one's solid. That one feels about the same. Hang on one second. Yeah, they both feel solid because I found on the CJRB Feldspar button lock that came out recently, like when the pivot starts to come loose for that knife for some reason, and it's a different system, it's slightly different. It messed with the detent, the button lock detent. It almost, when it got loose, was too strong to overcome, and as you tighten it, it felt a little bit better. But that knife, once I took it apart, lock, stick, and everything, and I got it to the right place, it's more consistent. But you can tell the system itself is different because it's just stronger for the detent than it is with it. And you see right there, did you see that? The other thing with this one as well, I don't think the scales are thicker, but I don't know that the chamfering, it's hard to do that. I don't know if the chamfering, and it's really hard to look at this through the camera, guys. The chamfering around the button, that feels flush. does feel like it's sticking up just a tiny bit on the wood, which would make sense. So what I'm trying to say is that I feel like I don't have to push this button in as far on the wood as I do on the micarta, and I think, yeah, you see that there? I think that's because it's sitting flush with the micarta. So I don't know that it necessarily makes a huge difference for the performance. I just have to remember on the micarta one to kick it all the way in. The other thing that I want to talk about is it's a slightly different sound, and I'm hoping and praying that this camera can pick up what I'm about to say so I don't sound crazy. I feel like they're different sounds. I feel like one of them, and I want to say I think it's this one has a more pronounced thud, whereas this has a tink to it. I don't know if it's the coating. I don't know if it's the micarta that's able to dampen or isn't able to dampen as much as the wood, but let's see if I can get it to make the sound. Ooh, that almost slipped out my hand. Anyway, hopefully somewhere in there you were able to pick up on the differences in the sound. Now, the one thing that you heard when I was trying to do that is it takes a second going from the wood to the micarta. The micarta offers a definitive difference for grip, and it does give it a premium feel. The wood, because of the nature of the material, feels slick and doesn't feel quite as premium in the hand because it doesn't have that texture, I guess. But I love the way that the wood looks, and I really love the way that it looks with this stone wash here. If I can get an angle, I don't know if the camera is going to let me pick up that stone wash or not. Let me see if I can find an angle, guys. There you go. So that stone wash looks really good in person against the wood, and it's just a beautiful color combination. The block wash, holy crap, the black wash looks really nice, and it does a good job sort of masking. You can see where I've used it a little bit, sort of masking the battle scars. But I've said before, a coated blade I do actually enjoy when it starts to develop that, and hopefully you can get a really good close look at the texturing. The other thing that I did notice that was a little bit different is this is really well knocked down. It is more curved. In chamfered, it doesn't quite have that pronounced blockiness that you see on the wood. So on the wood, and that could just, again, it could be that this lighter color, it's easier to see, but the wood kind of feels more blocky, whereas it feels a little bit more rounded on the micarta. So those are some of the differences that I was able to pick up on between these two knives. Now, I did pick up, and I guess this is a great way to demonstrate this, I picked up the Banter pocket clip because it does have a lower profile and it does feel more comfortable in hand. So let me close these. I can just feel them ever so slightly grazing against my fingers. So if you can see the micarta variant, it does look like it swoops up and is a little bit more pokey than it does on the Banter pocket clip. The other thing with the Banter pocket clip is it doesn't stick up as high here, and it feels more comfortable resting against the hand because it's completely flat. Whereas with the micarta, or the factory clip on the micarta, you can feel it a little bit more, but it's not hot, it doesn't hurt. Both go in and out of pocket really good. I just thought that the Banter had a better overall design and looked a little bit better, so I picked one up for $10 on Amazon. I'll make sure that's linked down below as well for everyone if I can. Hopefully I don't forget. But overall, if I had to do it again, I would still buy the wood. But man, the black with the micarta looks really nice, and that micarta feels really good in hand. How they did it or how it's manufactured, it feels really nice. and I think they did a really nice job. It actually feels a little bit better than the micarta on the Conspirator, which I also really like. So I'm not quite sure if maybe this just has some more oil, if it was sanded down. I'm definitely not an expert, but I liked this a lot. I like this more, but I just love the way that the wood looks and feels in hand. Yes, I just said that. My gosh. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. Which one do you have? Which one would you choose? And what is your experience with the Chevalier been? I have really enjoyed both models. The edges have come, just fine for me. No lock stick. Everything has worked really nicely. And I've actually replaced my Cogent with this. So let me know down in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, leave a like. And consider subscribing if you're not. If you are already subscribed, thank you so much for all of your support. I appreciate you very much supporting me and this channel. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. And until next time, peace.